Whoa, hello there. I'm Scotty, and you're not. And we're here to talk about The Matrix Resurrections. And I'm not going to talk like Keanu Reeves for the whole review, so I'm done. Alright, so this wasn't a major one that I was looking for. And I wasn't looking forward to it when it came out. Came out on HBO Max. Didn't watch it there. But I said to myself, when it comes out on Blu-ray, I'm gonna buy it because I enjoy the first Matrix. Matrix Reloaded was fine. I just I I didn't like the fact that they built up the Matrix stuff in the first one, and then the other two were just mostly in a dystopian world. Like, oh, look at all the cool stuff we can do in the Matrix. And we're just gonna have the other two mostly take place in a dystopian world. Other than some scenes within the Matrix, some fight scenes, the whole rain fight scene with Smith, which I thought was pretty good, I guess, but I did actually like this one. Mostly because it kind of returns to that Matrix stuff. There's a lot of Matrix stuff in here, and I like that. There's also dystopian stuff, but things have evolved, changed. Yeah. So, 60 years after the events of the last film, yes, 60, we now follow Neo, now once again Thomas Anderson, and once again inside the Matrix, as he is now a video game designer, and he designed the Matrix video game trilogy, which is based on Neo's actual memories of what happened, but they're video game form. His partner is a man played by Jonathan Groff, who we don't know who he is, but if you've seen the trailers, you know who he is. It wasn't a big spoiler, really. And he often has lapses in reality, which they call incidents, or I don't remember. I can't think of the word. But called The Analyst, played by Neil Patrick Harris, is his therapist, which they say he's his therapist, but the subtitles call him Analyst, and I also call Jonathan Groff's character Smith. So if you're deaf or hard of hearing and you watch with the subtitles on, you're gonna be spoiled if you didn't already know some things. But Neo runs into this Asian woman named Bugs, like the bunny. And I'm not just saying that because Warner Brother owns it. They say it in the movie. She's a Bugs, like the bunny. Apparently, she saw Neo during his first quote unquote suicide attempt. And apparently he didn't fall. But they erased his memory. They rebooted the thing, whatever. By the way, I believe this movie has a plot hole in it. A plot hole, or just something that happened in the writing that they didn't really think of, which we'll get to. But yeah, and so there was. Then the trailer came out. There was some confusion because Yahya Abdul Mateen II, otherwise known as Candyman or Black Manta, seemed to be playing the character of Morpheus, which was originally played by Larry Fishburne. Now, I've heard some things like, oh, he wasn't even asked, or he didn't want to come back. I'm going to go with that he wasn't asked, and let me tell you why. I think, like they explain why he doesn't look like the other Morpheus, but I think the reason why, and they're going to say to the moon that it's because they wanted to do this route, but I think, and it's probably this sort of the same reason why Hugo Weaving doesn't come back as Agent Smith. I think that they didn't have uh, Larry Fishburne come back because he is fat and out of shape. He has gained a lot of weight in the years. He's not exactly in thin shape like he was. And so they decided not to ask him back, but to hire a new actor and create some story as to explain why it's a new actor. And with the Agent Smith thing, well, Hugo Weaving has a reputation for, like, he's not the best to work with. And I think they just didn't ask him back because they didn't want to have any problems. So they cast new actors. And I will say that for what they had to do, they were fine. I thought Yahya Abdul-Mateen II was decent to pretty good as Morpheus. He's no Lawrence Fishburne, Larry Fishburne. Jonathan Groff, though, he came off as Smith Light. Diet Smith, as you would say. But because he doesn't have the bravado that Hugo Weaving does. You know, you Mr. Anderson. Jonathan Groff, as much as I like the actor, Mr. Anderson! He doesn't have that deep, gruff voice like Hugo Weaving, so it doesn't work. And I also don't like the fact that they have to bombard the audience with flashbacks when stuff happens to tell you, hey, it's that character, it's that character, it's that character. Like, Neo will be having a conversation with Morpheus, and so the audience knows it's Morpheus. They show flashbacks, or at some point, literally have it on a screen behind them, word for word, having Mateen II dub over Lawrence Fishburne, by the way. And then with Smith, they keep flashing to him to moments that to show you this is the same character, because we have to show you that or you won't believe they're the same character. And I have a major criticism, and it's the reason why I don't care for sequels to films to film series that have already ended their story arcs. And this goes back to The Force Awakens. Because, to do a sequel, we have to undo some of the things that we finished with the last movie in order to continue. Like The Force Awakens with Star Wars, defeated the Empire. And then, guess what? First Order is here. It's basically a second coming of the Empire, and they have their own stormtroopers, and it's just the same thing all over again. And here, Neo is the one. He defeated the Matrix. He caused everything to go away, but now, new programs, new robots, new, things. Apparently, according to Niobe, who is now old, and to their credit, they actually put makeup on Jada Pinkett Smith instead of doing CGI. It does look better than it would be in CGI. Trust me. Some of the CGI shots in this are not so good. But, yeah. And it just, we have to do he saved the entire world, but now because we have to have a sequel, we have to change that. And I guess they're working with some of the sentients or whatever they call them, but not every one of them, because apparently if that's the case, the Matrix wouldn't still exist, but they do. I don't know. And like I said, Neil Patrick Harris plays the therapist or the analyst, which is basically a new version of the architect, only with less Colonel Sanders look like. He's Neil Patrick Harris. To be honest, there are some times when Neil Patrick Harris is talking that I think he would make a better Agent Smith than Jonathan Groff. I'm just saying, the way he has his bravado when he talks, like, moves his head, he would make a better Agent Smith, I think. But he was fine for his role. Now, the plot hole. So, here's the thing. Neo and Trinity are stuck back in the Matrix. They have no idea, no memory of who they were. And then Bugs shows up, pulls Neo out, and then Neo's like, well, we have to go back and get Trinity because I love her and stuff. Whoa. And, like, so then they go in there and they're told, hey, you can't do that. And then they're pulled out because they have to uh, be scolded by Niobe, who told them they weren't going to do anything, but they did anyway. And they're taken to this Indian chick who we find out is Sati. And yes, a lot of people have guessed, I've watched other reviews that, oh, we see her earlier in the film, and people have pointed out that Sati. And I'm like, well, yeah, it has to be. I'm like, is that little Indian girl? I forgot her name until they said it, because it's been a while since I've watched those movies. But is that the little Indian girl that the Oracle had? And they're like, Sati? And I'm like, yep, her. It's one of, it's Priyanka Chopra Jonas. Sorry, I mispronounced your name, ma'am. But, and my confusion is, like, it's been 60 years, but she's only aged 30 years. Priyanka Jonas is in her 40s, right? So she's aged 30-ish years, because I'm guessing the girl was 10 years old last time. She's only aged 30-ish years. Then again, they are still technically in the Matrix, I think, because Neo has his long hair. When they're out of the Matrix, he has his shaved head, which I'm confused about. Is that like a bald cap and a fake hair thing, or what? Because, when I saw the trailers and saw that Keanu had his long hair, I'm like, oh, well, I guess he couldn't, cut his hair because of John Wick, and I'm long hair Keanu is fine, but Neo does not have long hair, and he does in this movie. And I thought, oh, it's because, but then they show him with a shaved head, and I'm thinking, did he actually shave his head, or is it some kind of thing over his head? I don't know. They do the same thing for Trinity too, but Trinity, or Tiffany as she calls, they have this thing where they go to the same place every day, and I guess they explain it by saying, oh, keeping them close would stop things from happening. And then here we get to the plot hole. So, Sati explains that they're using Trinity and Neo to stabilize the Matrix. And when Neo was taken out, it started to destabilize. But Smith talked them out of rebooting the system again, which I agree they should have called this The Matrix Rebooted, but they talked him out because he believes they can convince Neo to come back by threatening to kill Trinity. Here's wherein lies the plot hole. Trinity is in no way ever in danger, because they can't kill her. The reason why is they just said they're using both of them to stabilize the Matrix. Neo was already out of his little pod. So, if they kill Trinity, it would completely destabilize the Matrix, destroying it. Therefore, they cannot kill her, so Neo doesn't have to do shit. And after they said it, because Smith will kill her if I do not go back. And I'm like, wait, she just said that they needed her to keep it stabilized. If they kill her, it will completely destabilize. It doesn't make any sense to me. I was scratching my head kind of moment. Like, at least that's, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below. But that's what I got from it, is that they were stabilizing it. When he was pulled out, it started to destabilize. They were going to reboot it. Smith said, no, I'll give him a comeback by threatening her life. But if they kill her, it will completely destabilize, destroying it, right? That's what I got from that. And I'm still kind of confused. I don't know if they explained, like, they're working with the robots, but yet they're still going against the robots with the Matrix. I don't know, it's kind of confusing. But it all ends in a big showdown. And yes, we do build up to, getting his powers back. It's just a cool fight with Smith. Diet Smith. But it's decent. You have this thing where he goes back in to talk to her, and he's frozen because They mentioned earlier bullet time, so now they gotta freeze him in bullet time, and eventually, though, he's able to rescue her. And then at the end, they fly in, and I like the fact that the analyst is just sitting there in his beaten apartment. I mean, he's in the Matrix. He could just rebuild it, right? He is the analyst, but he's just sitting there in his broken apartment as they fly in. She flies in. Neo walks through the door, I think, and she's just like beating the crap out of him, breaking his neck and bringing him back and all that stuff. And then they fly off to, I think, the same music from the end of the first one. But yeah, I enjoyed this for what it was. They explain. I guess I should mention this. They explain why. I don't know if they explain Smith or why he looks different. They just tried to hide him. There's a shot with a broken mirror where I think to himself he looks like the other Smith, but he doesn't look like everyone else, because they explain it with Neo too, where he looks like an old man, a balding old man to everyone else by himself, I guess. But I don't know. But they explain with Morpheus that he's a modal. He's a creation within the game. So he's the game facsimile of Morpheus, and as such, he cannot come out there. But he never actually felt like the real Morpheus. Like, he reunites with Neo, there's no big, oh, it's a long time, my old friend. Or when he's literally in the same room with Niobe, and there's nothing. He never comes off as the real Morpheus, even though we're supposed to believe he is supposed to be a recreation of him. It never comes off as such. I think he even says, I'm a recreation of the one you know as Morpheus, or something like that. Like, he's never comes off as the real Morpheus. And I know some people in the comments be like, look, actually, the real Morpheus was killed in the Matrix 99. I know, but I'm just saying, if that isn't in fact canon here, they could say his memories are backed up in this modal, and that's why he could still have memories, but to me, it never came off as if he was anything like the other Morpheus, other than saying lines from the first one. And they even do the thing with the White Rabbit, and they have the song, which is, I know it's called White Rabbit, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of callbacks to the first one, which is fine. Nostalgia is a thing, right? Nowadays, you gotta do things. Scream 2022 did it. This one does it. Yeah. So, we come to the end. What do I give this? I'm gonna say, when it comes to the Matrix Revolution, it is going to sit firmly in the middle of the road. I liked it better than the other two sequels. To me, I know I reviewed those before I had my rating system. Reloaded is a Matrix. The first Matrix is a to the moon movie. All day. No, I'm changing it. The first Matrix is a to the moon. I'm going to say this is a pretty good. Because I enjoyed it for what it was. It's not as good as the original. Had a lot of callbacks. I enjoyed it. Matrix, and the reason I say that is because the Matrix Reloaded is the middle of the road. I have a lot of problems with that movie, but I can still enjoy it somewhat. It's the middle of the road. Matrix Revolutions, unless you're going to binge the trilogy, it's not worth your time. But if you're watching all of them together, you kind of need to watch it. So unless you're watching all the movies in one shot, it's not worth your time. But yeah, the Matrix Resurrection gets a pretty good from me. So what are your thoughts on the Matrix Resurrections? That's your Resurrections. Excuse me. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.